should start. All right, and we are live for another installment of Ask Professor Jim. I'm James in 0WRL. I'm here with Professor Jim in 4BFR. Professor Jim, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. How are you, James? I was looking the other day. I thought we were going to do these about once a month, and we haven't done this since April or May. So I'm glad to be back at it.
Well, I'm glad you are with us today, Jim, and I'm going to give a couple moments for people to get joined in here. I had a little snafu with the YouTube link, so there was one YouTube link that was scheduled previously, but we couldn't get back into it, so we created another YouTube link. So hopefully people are finding us now at the correct YouTube link, so we'll give people a couple of moments to join. But Professor Jim, what's new in the world of Professor Jim?
Let's see. The big thing that is new with me is I have a new location to call home and make contacts from. So I have moved to Florida, and excuse me, I have a nice new house out in the Gainesville area, and I'm enjoying getting a new shack set up, and it's going to be fun. So this place I bought has a nice cement outbuilding. Excuse me one second. So the place I bought has a nice cement outbuilding, and I am converting that into a true to form ham shack. So before anything else happens, I need to basically gut it, put a new roof on, all new power in there. So there's a lot of work to be done, but I'm excited to be able to get going on it. And I'm just waiting on the plans back for some of the final adjustments that we're going to make, and we're going to start cranking on it.
Man, that is exciting. New QTH, big moves. I'm sure maybe tonight we'll hear a little bit more about the plans for the station. But as we got people joining in, I know we probably have a lot of folks who know Professor Jim, a lot of folks you may be kind of meeting Professor Jim for the first time. But I'm going to give just a little bit of introduction about Jim in 4BFR. Jim, you've been a ham for how long?
17 years.
For 17 years. But of course, the reason why a lot of you guys know Jim is through his work at Ham Radio Prep. So Jim is the lead instructor for technician, general, and amateur extra license course at Ham Radio Prep. But he's not also just involved in the instruction world and helping new hams get on the air. He is also very instrumental in, not just getting people licensed, but also instrumental in getting people on the air, teaching people how to operate HF, make those first contacts, learning things in the world of digital, and most recently satellite and space communications, emergency communications. So a lot of you guys probably recognize Jim, but this is somebody who's helped tens of thousands of people get on the air, and he is here with you today to help answer your questions live. So it's not just the courses, but he's here. So the way that these work for the Ask Professor Jim is you guys get to put questions into the chat, and Professor Jim is going to answer those in the order that they appear. And a few of you guys have submitted questions ahead of time, so we're gonna cover those as well. How does that sound, Professor?
Sounds great. I'm looking forward to it. And somebody said, isn't it longer than 17 years? So I'm looking up my old call sign to see what year I actually got issued. I'm pretty sure it was 2012, but the FCC will have the answer shortly.
Okay, well, and guys, do not be afraid to drop those questions in the chat. And while we're waiting for a couple of you guys to ask some questions to the professor, let's get a little bit of a rundown on what we can expect out of the new QTH. And obviously, anytime you're moving, you had a tower at the old place. You've kind of got to start building a station from scratch, Jim. So tell us about the trials and tribulations of building a new station from scratch.
That's a good point. You know, I've got a lot of radios and I've got a few antennas, but I don't have it all kind of put together yet. So the nice part is I'm going to be able to kind of have a clean slate and learn some new things and do some new things related to my shack and what I want to do with it. So here's an example of something that I learned. In my last shack in Georgia, I built it up so I had 3 desks so we could have multiple operators because we were going to do some light contesting. But all the desks were against the wall. So every time I wanted to make a change to a radio, I had to crawl under the desk and pull everything out, and it was a big So in the new shack, there will be walkways between where the radios are and behind the radios. So I'll be able to get in and connect things up fairly easily. So that's one of the things I'm thinking about. I had a tower in the old place. I expect to have a tower in the new place. It's not the first thing I'm going to do. I'm going to get the shack building done first, but I already have an antenna up in the air. So one of the neat things about this location is in my old location, I was on a small lot. In this location, I am on a rather large lot, and I can actually fit a 160-meter dipole onto my lot. So I bought one last week, and I've put one up over the last few days, and I've actually been recording it as well. So at some point down the line, we're going to do a series of shack build and new station videos, and one of them will be putting the antenna together and getting it up in the trees. So that was a lot of fun.
And so, hey, I mean, and that's a good tip for those of you who are out there and, you know, you're debating a tower, but you want to get on HF, just put a wire up, right? I mean,
absolutely.
So we've got some questions starting to come in here. Yep, go ahead, Jim.
I put the wire up. I had it all up yesterday afternoon and busted out one of my radios. And I made 17 contacts last night on 20 and 40 meters, including Canada, Croatia, and right down the street. So 30 miles from me on 40 meters, I made a contact with POTA Power. So that was pretty cool.
That's awesome. Shout out to POTA Power. So let's get into your questions and go ahead and drop them in the chat, everyone. And we're just going to go in the order that they come in. First question from Jeremy O'Donnell. Love this question. I'm nearly finished with my tech license study program, and I love the HRP app. Shout out to the app. Great way to study. I can pass the test, but have no idea how to actually use my radio. How can I learn how to be a ham radio operator? Good question, Jeremy.
Yeah, good question, Jeremy. And that is definitely one of the things that we hear a lot from our students. So and I'm not trying to upsell you, but I really do think this is a great idea, is what we've done is we put together a course called Ham Radio Basics. And it covers the very first things you're going to want to do as a ham, including programming handheld, make a repeater contact, make a simplex contact. So how you actually do that, what's the terminology, how do you get the right things in, how do you know which things you need to get in for a repeater, and how do you get them correctly into your radio? And then we go on and kind of cover some of the very hot topics of people are interested in when they first get started. So there's a lesson on getting involved in CW if you want to do Morse code. There's a lesson on HF, and there's a lesson on satellite. So this is the kind of scratch the surface kind of course where you get a little bit about everything so you can figure out which part you like. And if you decide you want to take a deep dive into MCOM, that's one of the lessons as well. You can kind of see what it takes. And if that fits what you want to do, you can get more involved in it. So I really like Ham Radio Basics as an option. If you don't want to go and buy some courses like this, and it's not very expensive, you can check out our guides in hamradioprep.com. I think it's hamradioprep.com/guides. And there are a bunch of guides that are similar that are related to making your first POTA contact or getting a vanity call sign or all kinds of different things that people want to do as they get going in ham radio. So we've got a couple of resources for you.
That's a great answer. And just to follow up on that, because I think it is such a good question by Jeremy. Let's say that you just pass your technician license. What are like a few quick things that someone could do to hop in? Because there's so many things, right? It can be kind of overwhelming.
Yeah, I would. I like getting a handheld and start experimenting with it. So there's a ham who took our course. Her name's Jane. And Jane went out and bought a TID radio and a J-pole. And she's been hitting repeaters and learning about EchoLink. And she made a contact through the space station early one morning. So she's out experimenting. And I think that's the important thing is you're not going to learn it if you don't try. And everybody makes a mistake the first time out. And even I did. I started off on a repeater trying to join a net, and I didn't put the CTCSS tone in. So can't make a contact if you don't tell the repeater and give it that little unlock key. So it happens, and you're not going to learn those things and get those things reinforced until you try. So 95% of the hams out there are willing to help you and explain things to you and help you walk things through it. So don't feel like you're going to walk into a buzzsaw if you make a mistake the first time or the first couple of times. If you do get somebody that's a little bit negative, just know that the next person you talk to will probably be really positive and be there and ready to help you out.
All right. Next up, we have Otis, and Otis wants to know if you have an Yaesu FTDX10. And before you answer that, I want to give a little shout out to Otis here. Otis is only 12 years old, and he has an amateur extra license. You can check out his profile on World Radio League if you want to see a little bit of his activity map and those types of things. But you can see Otis is absolutely logging up a storm. He's a pretty active operator and pretty impressive there, Otis. But what do you own a Yaesu FTX10, Jim?
I do not. The last Yaesu I owned, as far as HF goes, I had a Yaesu FT950, which was a really nice radio. I like it. Nice big knobs, plenty of knobs to make lots of adjustments. I started off with a Yaesu FT897, which I liked as well. So those are good. Have not bought a DX10. Right now, my HF radios, I've got 3 and 1 on the way, really. I'm currently using my Elecraft K3 for my temporary setup. In my shack, when I have it all built out, I'll connect back up my Flex my Flex 6700. I really like the 6700 too, because it's got the 8 tuners, and they don't make an 8 tuner one anymore. So I'm going to keep that one around for a while. And I just I've got for my POTA operating, I've got an IC 705, and I just splurged today because James and I have been talking about this. I bought the G90, which is the 20-watt portable radio. So I'm very interested in seeing how that does for me from a portable perspective and comparing it to the 705. I certainly like the price. I got a package for $400. So I'll be really interested to see how that performs. And so James talked me into another radio, basically.
I love it. And so Jim actually gifted me a radio, which is my new VHF UHF. So I don't, Otis, I don't have an FTDX10, but I do have this really awesome FTM 100D, and I just set up my VHF UHF antenna on my roof, and I made a call out on 146.52 national calling frequency yesterday, and I was getting contacts like crazy. So it's amazing what a nice so
that's awesome.
Thank you for that, Jim.
Did I tell you, have I told you the history of that particular radio, James?
You have not. But it's I mean, it is awesome. This is a great radio.
It is. It's terrific radio. I won that radio at Orlando Hamfest one year. I won the early bird drawing, so I bought my ticket in advance, and they called me up the Friday morning and said, "Hey, congratulations! Come by and pick up your prize." So that's how I ended up with that radio.
That is awesome. Yeah, and it's amazing. I'll post some videos to our channel later about the new home VHF UHF system I set up. But if you don't have a permanent VHF UHF antenna, it's really a game changer because you're just so limited with the handhelds.
Yes, it is.
Let's see. So Richard Miller, thank you, Richard. He's asking us steel buildings and antenna, getting ready to add Zygu VG4, raising it up to 40 feet. I think what he's asking here is maybe just some tips about sort of installation. I'm not familiar with the VG4.
I'm not familiar with the VG4, but let's take it from steel building and antenna perspective. The building can radiate, so you can work around that and try and keep your antenna a wavelength distant from the building, so you are not potentially generating interference. You could, okay, there we go. So if you're going to put that at the top of the building, then that could potentially be a ground plane. So that could actually help you by, instead of, I noticed it's got some little ground plane elements there, but the steel building top could reflect up the signal and potentially be additive for you as well. So it's all about having to experiment, Richard. So haven't used this particular antenna. It looks pretty, but I just don't know how it's going to go as far as being more reflective or potentially interference. So I think what you're going to have to do is experiment. So get it set up, put it where you want it, see how it does. If you think it can do better, maybe raise it up or move it to a different spot and see how it does then. And maybe you can, find a partner that's 15, 20 miles away that can help you understand, listen in for you and give you feedback as you go along.
Yeah, that's great. And I would also, the grounding and the ground plane is so important, right? As Jim, when Jim's talking about reflecting that, like, so to your antenna, you can think about the ground as kind of a point of reference where it's going to sort of push off your signal almost in different directions. So yeah, as Jim mentioned, maybe the metal becomes part of your ground plane. I guess you could maybe even ground to,
I would definitely ground as well, because you want, you want to protect a little inline ground piece, and a ground rod would probably only cost you, $50 or $60 altogether. I haven't bought one recently, but that's the number I have in my head. It's relatively inexpensive compared to the cost of a radio. So especially here in Florida, where I know that, all of a sudden it's Tuesday afternoon and it just could thunder because it wants to. So I am definitely going to pay. I paid attention having a tower to grounding. I'm going to pay even more attention and double down on that here in Florida because of the frequency of lightning in this area. So
yeah, you're going to become an expert. You're going to be becoming an expert. But yeah, just as Jim mentioned, it's literally, one of these ground rods is only $23. And I just did one of these. You could drive these into the ground with a hammer, or you can use, there's actually like a hammer drill that comes with a ground rod. That's what I recommend, because then it only takes 2 minutes to drive this thing into the ground. And that can go connected to your ground points. Some antennas have a point where they are grounded. Some are just internally grounded. The coax itself acts as the ground. But that could also be connected onto different metal grounding elements like your building.
So there's lightning ground, and then there's reflective ground for ground plane for the antenna. So don't get them mixed up. One is about protecting your equipment from sudden surges due to lightning and extreme weather. The other is the way the signal reflects off the terrain or the earth or the top of the building. That ground term is used for two different things in ham radio, but it really means two very different things.
That's a real. I'm actually learning something here too, because you think because the ground is just used as a universal term, but it's actually there's two sides to it. There's the electrical. Okay, that's very interesting.
So in the next few weeks, maybe even the NCVEC is going to start making their new question pool for technicians that'll start in 2026. And that's one of the things I want to tell them is you need to explain better the difference between the terrain and an electrical ground plane. So we'll see if I'm successful there at all.
There you go. The Crate Kid says, I've had my license for 1 year and never made a contact. Can you tell me if I'm doing something wrong?
No, because I'm not quite sure what you've done. Getting out and trying is the most important thing. So, like James said, he threw up an antenna and started calling on 146.52. Find a friend. I mean, there are other new hams who are in the similar situation. So you go on Facebook into a ham radio group, like our Ham Radio Prep Student Success Group. You go into the World Radio League forum. You can ask and just say, hey, listen, I'm looking for somebody to help me out and make a contact. But the basics are get on a frequency, either try working through a repeater, and find a repeater local to you. And lots of times, if you want to make it easy on yourself, what you want to do is find that repeater and then find out when they've got a club net. Most clubs have a net once a week. They'll get around for half an hour, 45 minutes, and you'll be able to check in. And all it is really getting on and, picking up your handheld and saying, hey, this is N4 BFR and I'm in Gainesville. And you just click and you say that and they check you in, and guess what? You've made your first ham radio contact. So that's a simple way to kind of start building up to it, not having a long conversation. But once you do that and you break the ice a little bit, you'll feel like you can go on. And I think that's just try a repeater net or look for friends would be my two suggestions.
And the Crate Kids, I also dropped a link in the chat for a follow-up guide. So if you want to get a little more information, Jim and I actually made a video showing you how to make your first contact. And if you see us at a ham fest, we'll make your first contact right there on the spot. We'll grab some HTs.
Yeah. Absolutely. I've always got an HT with me at a ham fest, so we can get you in the log. I'm gonna be in Melbourne, Florida, mid-October. They've got a ham fest there. I'm going to go hang out with POTA Power. And so come by and see me and I'll have an HT.
All right. Mike Walker wants to know, when the ISS passes overhead, there are only about 1 minute of repeater
acquisition. Acquisition, maybe
acquisition time. Yeah. Not sure. Yeah. Let's dig into that.
Okay. So with the ISS or any satellite, you've got to look at two things. When it passes over your head, you want to look at where the pass starts and where the pass finishes. That's called the azimuth, and that will be in a number between 1 and 360. So let's say it's going to start to the east. So the starting azimuth will be 90 degrees, and you're going to point your antenna east, and that's where you're going to first hear the signal. This is assuming you're using a directional antenna. As it passes over, then it's going to go to the west, and you'll eventually be at 270 degrees. So that's your ending azimuth. Those just tell you the points where the ISS starts and stops on the horizon. There's another number called elevation. And what that number is it's a degree between 0 and 90 of how directly above you the ISS is at any one particular time, or any other satellite. So if you get a pass that has 85, 75 degrees elevation, that means it's going to be overhead longer. If you have a pass that's only 20 or 30% elevation, that means it's basically going to skim just above the horizon, and you won't have as much time to connect with it, particularly when you are not using directional antennas or have trees or other terrain to deal with. So that 1 minute of time probably means it's right overhead and you're using a really simple antenna. Excuse me. If I was doing that with a handheld and I just took my handheld and I tuned it into the ISS frequency, I would hear, and just held it like this as I had a pretty good high pass, I would probably only hear the repeater for 1 or 2 minutes. And part of that is because the antenna and the orientation of the ISS passes over the head. I'm going to add a third element here, and that's called Doppler shift. And what Doppler shift is it's that thing you have when you hear a horn pass and it goes meow, right? It shifts from high to low as it goes past you. And because the ISS is moving 17,000 miles an hour relative to where you're standing, the radio signal is compressing and expanding as it goes past you. So it will only be on that center frequency for 1 or 2 minutes, and it will be up to 8 or 9 kilohertz above or below that frequency as it goes past in your Doppler shift. So azimuth, elevation, Doppler shift are all three things you want to check as you're trying to work an ISS pass or any other amateur satellite pass. James, did I miss anything?
No, I think you nailed it. I'll just, because this is such a good topic, I'll give you a couple follow-ups here. So, for an ISS pass, the actual time, it sounds like depends on the exact pass, but about how long of actual time would you have to make that contact via repeater when you get an ISS passing overhead?
If you're clean from horizon to horizon, and so you don't have a lot of trees, let's say you're on the top of a mountain somewhere, so you can see horizon to horizon, you're going to have 10 to 11 minutes on a really good ISS pass. So that once you start limiting yourself with narrowing the frequency because of Doppler shift, narrowing the pass at elevation, those things will eat into that time a little bit and impact you from your opportunity to make a contact there. But it does happen. People do make handheld contacts with the ISS, and I saw her name scroll by, but Jane is one of them. She told me about hers the other day. So it really happens, and people really make contacts like that.
And guys, it is very complicated. Jim taught me how to make my first satellite contacts. I made my first contacts via APRS, voice, learned satellite tracking, and learning how to manage and program a radio and account for Doppler shift and track the satellite. It's kind of heavy stuff, and it helps to kind of learn those things in a sequence. So Mike, I would definitely check out our satellite and space communications course, or at least check out some of the free videos we put on YouTube that we're talking about some of these things, because you're going to need to have a satellite tracking software set up so you can see when it passes. You got to learn how to tune your radio up and down for the right frequencies for Doppler. You need to know what type of equipment, and it doesn't have to be super expensive either. You just need to have a little bit of knowledge.
Yeah. A lot of people out there with, Yaesu FT65s and simple handheld Yagi antennas, maybe spend a total of $300 on gear, and they're regularly making contacts through the ISS repeater or with astronauts. So that's definitely possible. And don't limit yourself to just the ISS either. One of the things we talk about in the course, there's a lot of different satellites. So if you like CW and don't want to make voice contacts, there's satellites where you can do CW. If you want to do APRS because you like digital and you want to simplify things a little bit. That's one of the stepping stones we used as we took James on his journey to make his first contact. First, we went out and listened. Then we came out and just made a simple APRS contact because you're not working as hard against Doppler and you're just sending a little 1 second packet. So it's easier to kind of get that knowledge. And then we moved him up to a voice contact. So those are some ways you can potentially grow into it.
And the voice contact is crazy. Yeah, the voice contact is crazy because especially on that ISS repeater, everybody's trying to get in there. So it's boom, boom, boom. And so you got to learn that format and you got to be ready to copy those call signs.
I've known James for 4 years. I've never seen him jump up and down like a little kid until he made his first ISS contact.
It just doesn't even feel real. When you make that first satellite contact, it's crazy. Jim, you were there for my first HF, which was on my back porch, which that was also.
We did that on field day.
That was one of those like, oh my gosh moments. And then the first satellite contact is right up there.
Yeah.
And once you get into satellite, you never go back. Okay, then we got John. Got my tech. Then general right away. What are the advantages of getting extra? Should he just keep on going up to extra?
So there are people who get extra because either they're electronics wizards or they just like to know everything about it. So that's one reason why some people do it. The biggest reasons that I give for why you should get your extra are you want to operate internationally. So if you like to travel and want to go to the Cayman Islands and operate or go overseas to Europe and operate, they really more significantly recognize, and it's a lot easier when you're an extra. So that's certainly one element to it. Another element would be you want to be a volunteer examiner. So in order to give all 3 levels of license tests as a VE, you have to be an extra. This eliminates the potential issue of, hey, you sign mine that says I passed and I'll sign yours that says you passed extra, right? If you're already an extra, then you're not going to be into that piece. Not to say that I've ever heard anybody do that, but why lead people into temptation? So those are 2 of the reasons. The other reason is, I think, maybe being a contester. If you want one of those super short 1x2 or 2x1 call signs, you've got to be an extra in order to get one of those. So those are the only people they're issued to. So travel, VE, short call signs are the 3 big reasons why you'd want to be an extra.
Oh man, I need to get one of those 1x2. But the thing is,
you just got a new call sign.
I know, that's what I'm saying. You can't be changing your call sign all the time either. People won't even know who you are anymore. But shout out, I'm wearing my old call sign shirt today.
Oh yeah, you are.
Yeah.
I told my wife, I'm like, maybe someday I'll get a 1x2 call sign. And she just kind of took me into my old shack and she pointed around. She's like, see all this stuff that has your call sign on it? You're not getting another call sign. So
just buy another one.
Sure, why not?
All right. Jane with an important question here. She says, you're the best teacher.
Jane, thank you. Did you hear me give you a shout out earlier? So Jane is the one I was talking about who just went out with her J-pole one day and said, I'm going to get up early and see if I can make an ISS repeater contact. And she did. So she's really a terrific example of somebody who just goes out and tries things. And I think that's the spirit that we're looking for when you want to start something new. So congratulations to her. And, maybe she never makes another ISS contact, but she knows what it took for her. And she knows that maybe she wants to do it in the future or not, or she can go on and try CW or something else along the way. So Jane, I appreciate the shout out and I appreciate you being a heck of an experimenter and getting out there and trying new things.
I got a follow up for you since we're talking about satellites, ISS, which one of my favorite topics, by the way. I know Mike Fink.
KE4AIT.
KE4AIT. Is he up on the space station now?
Yeah, he's been up there about 3 weeks or a month or so. So Mike Fink is an astronaut. And he is on NASA's Crew 11 mission, which means he's going to be in Expedition 73 and Expedition 74 on the ISS, which means he's going to live there for another 6 months or so. And he likes ham radio. And he said before he went up on the ISS that he wanted to spend some time playing ham radio and making some casual contacts with hams. And we've seen some examples of that already. So there's a website called amsat.org/status that shows all the statuses of all the different satellites, including the ISS. And there's a way, and it's crowdsourced. So you go in and you say, oh, I heard, RS-44 make a pass over my house at 1700 UTC. There you go. If you look across the line, you see ISS FM. See where there's purple? Purple means that the crew was active. So somebody has listened to the radio and heard a crew member active. So if you check this before a pass, this will give you an opportunity to know, oh, so-and-so's been active, or there might have been a crew active and I might have had the opportunity to do that coming up. So that's a good place to watch and see when it is. We've seen Mike Fink be active today. Zena Cardman. There's a special I used to say there was 2 kinds of contacts from the ISS, but I'm really going to say that there's 3 because I kind of got clarified a little bit today. There are casual contacts. So a crew member just decides, like Mike Fink decides, oh, I'm going to spend, it's dinner time's over. I got 20 minutes. There's a nice pass over the central US. I'll go talk to some hams. So that's a casual contact. There's scheduled student contacts and educational contacts. So youth groups, schools, they get a chance and get a 10-minute window where they can go and have 15 or 20 kids ask a crew member on the space station questions live. And one of those happened today in Paraguay. And so students from Paraguay got to ask one of the crew members all different things about the ISS live via ham radio. A third kind of contact, and I'm just learning about this, even though I've kind of been aware of ERIS for a while, is a crew requested contact. So Zena Cardman, who is up on the ISS, and she's a ham right now, before she was on the ISS, she was on the research vessel EV Nautilus. And she requested that they make a ham radio contact between the ISS and the Nautilus. And they just did that today. And she got to talk to her old friends, and they asked different kind of questions about how, instead of, student questions like, how do you go to the bathroom in space? And what experiments are you working on now? They could ask things like, what's the difference between living on a ship in the middle of the ocean and a spaceship in the middle of orbit? So it was very interesting. And that's a fun thing that people can do and watch out for. Just the whole ERIS program in general is really good. And James, you just published 3 interviews with 3 different people at ERIS about all the things that they're working on, right?
Yeah, it's amazing. They talked about ham TV as well, which is
right.
Which is going well. That's on. I guess that's not on the ISS.
Ham TV's on the ISS.
Oh, it is on the ISS. Okay.
So that is ISS has 2 Kenwood TH-710s, one in the Russian service module and one in the Columbus module. One runs APRS and one runs the voice repeater. There's a third radio there, and that's called the ham TV radio. That transmits on 2.4 gigahertz, and that has sent and will send again live video from the ISS.
That is cool. That is cool. So check those interviews as well. We've got a question from Joseph Lewis here who wants to know, I'm working through the courses, got my tech license back in March. Are there any plans to have a course or courses that go in depth on CW, APRS, DMR, D-Star, understanding the ins and outs of antennas?
All those are great ideas. Right now, DMR and D-Star are covered in the MCOM course, James. I'm blanking because we've done several over the last couple of years.
Yeah, I think we touched on them in IMCOM. Although I don't know that we went deep, but we did touch on those in IMCOM.
Yeah. So we don't have any super detailed courses on any of those yet. I think in all of them, we've touched on bits and pieces of them in guide videos or in ham radio basics. We don't have in-depth courses on this yet, but we're always looking for ideas. I know James is really hot to learn CW, so there's an opportunity there. I like APRS. I got DMR. I got D-Star. Oh, there you go. All my
My
keys are packed
motivation.
up. All my keys are packed up. And antennas are great. Antennas is a topic that we could do, a lot of stuff on. So I'm not saying never. I'm just saying not yet. What I will tell you that we're actually kind of putting together a collaboration of videos that will touch on CW and antennas in addition to radios and a few other things as they relate to parks on the air. So I saw a question scroll by. What does POTA mean? POTA stands for Parks on the Air. And these are people who either go out and become activators and take small radios and small antennas into parks and make contacts from them, or they become hunters where they use their home stations to try and talk to these activators. I saw POTA Power scroll by. POTA Power activates a couple of times a week. They hop on YouTube. They're really a friendly couple, and I worked them yesterday in their park. So
Yeah, give those guys a follow if you want to see some POTA and see what it is. They're a great follow and subscribe.
Yep, Vaughn and Julie are terrific, and because I moved to Florida. I'm only about 45 minutes from them now. So there may be a POTA Power Professor Jim collaboration here coming sooner rather than later. So we'll see.
I know a lot of people would love to see that. And Joseph, don't worry. We will get to a lot of these topics. We kind of pick themes, like there's a never ending amount of things that we're going to teach on. So we generally kind of focus on one theme at a time, but trust me, we'll have some really good stuff that you're going to love coming up. We've got a lot of stuff in the works. Jane, another good question from Jane. She's getting them in. What's your favorite ham radio memory?
Oh, my favorite ham radio memory. This is going to be a weird one. And I almost can never prove it really happened, but I really do think it happened. Is I was on 10 meters one evening, and it was around sundown. And I think that the atmosphere was just right. So by the time I got done calling CQ, I heard myself back again. So I think I literally heard my voice go all the way around the world and come back to me. So that was one of the really magical things about ham radio that I thought was cool.
That is super cool. And hey, I believe it. And then we've got just a comment from Delaney. I got my technician call sign today after studying with HRP, working with General. Congrats. Delaney, Brian. And for those of you, I'll drop the link in. If you don't have the mobile app is truly the best way to study because you can lay in bed at night, do a lesson, watch a video, take a quiz, and you'll be on the air like Brian here in no time.
You say laying in bed like you haven't heard people actually come up to me in Hamfest and say, "Hey, Jim, I took you to bed last night so I could study for my ham radio test." And I'm like, okay, that's interesting.
That is a true story. I've probably if I've heard it once, I've heard it a dozen times.
Yes.
It is true. Colin wants to know, KE9DVM. Hey, Colin, where can I learn more on EchoLink? Also, antenna recommendation for an apartment setup. I like that question. That's a tricky one, but it's a good one.
EchoLink is so for those of you who don't know what EchoLink is, it is a app for your phone that will allow you to connect in to repeaters. So it's a voice over IP like app. I'm calling it up to, I'm pretty sure I've got it on this phone. So let me see if I can call it up and just kind of hold it up here. So it looks kind of like that. And you would pick a repeater or pick a person and connect into it and make contacts like you were making ham radio contacts, just using this app. And basically, you come in through your phone and out onto a repeater. And it's really fun because I've made contacts via EchoLink and its and associated types of VoIP services with places like South Africa. I'm driving to work one morning, and all of a sudden, repeater opens up, and somebody says, "Hey, this is so and so in South Africa. Let's have a conversation." So I'm going to work, and I'm talking to South Africa through a repeater. So EchoLink is a fun way to do that. Basically, to get started in EchoLink, you download the app and you need to get authenticated. So you'll need to send them a copy of your license so they can confirm your call sign's really your call sign. They'll set you up in their system and you can do that. So that's EchoLink. Antenna recommendation for an apartment setup. You didn't mention if you were HF or VHF, UHF. I did I lived in a condo, so similar, maybe a little bit bigger than an apartment, but similar. And I put a vertical antenna, like a Diamond X30, on. I built a support out of PVC, but you could use a tripod. I put it in the front window of my house, and I made contacts to the different repeaters via that antenna. So that's certainly one option. Nothing precludes you from setting up an antenna in your room. VHF, UHF, I wouldn't worry too much about power levels and neighbors. If you're going to get into HF, I think you want to be careful there. A lot of people that I've seen for apartments use what they call a mag loop, is these circular antennas that can be adjusted for various bands. They only put out 20 watts, so they're very safe from a neighborhood perspective, but they will still allow you to, put it out on the veranda and get HF. Two other options I'll do. First option would be if you live up on a higher floor, drop a wire out the window and give it a try. Even that might help. If you have access to the attic, you might be able to put a small dipole in your attic. I did that too when I was in my condo. So you're going to potentially face interference from roofing shingles and nails and underlayments and those kind of things. But it's still, having an antenna is better than having no antenna. So it gets you started.
That's a good answer. S. Isaacs, good afternoon, Wisconsin. We've got
Hi.
David Hillbilly Ham. Hey, David.
Hey,
And
David.
S. Isaacs, he's studying for test 0 to extra, one sitting after 20 years in electronics high-tech industry. Very cool.
There you go. Hey,
Congratulations.
if you know all those Smith charts and all that that fun stuff about inductance and reactance and those kind of things, I've seen a couple of folks who were electronics engineers go from 0 to extra. So congratulations.
Daniel Marco says, got my tech in general using HRP. Thanks for your help, guys.
Yay. Daniel, hope you're out having some fun doing anything HF or anything VHF, UHF. So get out there, have some fun, start making contacts.
Yeah, and we appreciate you guys as well. I mean, seriously, it's a blast working on this stuff. We're always working.
Absolutely.
I mean, every single week we're coming out with something new on the development side, something new on content, and getting to do cool live stuff like that. It's just a blast, isn't it, Jim?
It's a lot of fun, and I look forward to these. And that's part of the reason why I was surprised that we hadn't done one since April, May, was because they're a lot of fun, and it's we have a great reaction. So I don't think it'll be 3 or 4 months before we do the next one.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. Time flies, and Otis is back.
Otis,
one of the youngest extras in the group, but he says he owns a G90, and he says you're gonna love it.
Otis is 12, right? Didn't you say he was 12?
Yes.
And he has more radios than I do.
And he live streams. You can catch him on YouTube live streaming his contacts. I guess Otis, you're probably using the FTDX10, if that's what you're mentioning. I believe that's what you're using, but it seems like you've got a G90 as well. And like I said, if you check out his profile on World Radio League, I'll drop in. You can see what Otis is up to. He's a very active operator. All right. We've got a question here. So Richard, who was asking about the Zygu antenna earlier, he mentioned he's following up and saying he's worried about interference from his metal building.
Could quite possibly be. And something that I'm looking at in my new building build is LCD lights. The LCD lights that are powered by AC and use dimmers, the dimmers tend to be low quality and cause interference. So it may not just be from the material in the roof, although the metal may actually help shield you from some of the interference inside the building. But watch out for things like AC powered LED lights. I'm going to try and put in DC powered lights, since I've already got plenty of DC power for my radios, and use it from that perspective. So those are things to think about when you're working in those buildings.
All right. S. Isaacs wants to know, it's just a question about the cost here. Is it $35 to the FCC, then $15 for one fee if he sits for all 3 exams? So if he goes tech, general, and extra all at the same time.
Generally, yes. So what would happen is you would pay the $15 first to take your tests, and then once you pass them, your results get sent to the FCC, and the FCC will bill you the $35. But yeah, those are the right prices. I would also say shop around, because you might find some folks that use like the Laurel VEC, which gives free ham radio exams. So also some ham fests will do free exams just to get people in the door as a way to kind of build the hobby. So if you're price sensitive, you could possibly shop around and avoid that $15 fee, but 35 is 35. Now, let me tell you this too. Let's say you sit and you pass tech and general and want to pass extra later. It would be another $15 to take the exam, but an upgrade from tech to general or general to extra is considered administrative, and there is no charge for that upgrade. So once you paid your $35, you're good for 10 years.
Yeah, that's good to know. And I'll also say, just as a note, so a lot of people just go in and take tech. A lot of people take tech and general together. That's very common. It's less common to take all 3 at the same time. You can definitely do it if you're feeling confident, but I personally wouldn't recommend it. I would say either do tech and general together and then come back for extra, just because the extra course is over a 700 question pool and there's more material you got to learn.
Yeah, and the last thing I'd add is, if you want to sit for all 3 with 1 exams, tell your VEs before you get there. So they will want, it takes time to do all 3 exams in one sitting. So they may, especially if you're going to do like an online VE, they may need to allot additional time slots for you to do those. So if that is your intention, let them know in advance and they can help plan with you.
Hello, Sheila from Wisconsin. Good to see you. And Richard comes back and says, thank you for the advice. So I guess that is helping. He's also in Florida. So, hey, maybe a fellow new Floridian.
Small state, right?
Yeah. All right, guys, we're going in order. I'll try. I think we're going to be able to get to a lot of these questions. So I have an infed 10 to 80 meter dipole with one of those through the window pieces of coax. By the way, that is a window pass-through from Rocket Machine Works I just installed. It's really nice. All of a sudden, I'm getting high SWR when trying to tune the antenna with the Yaesu tuner. Any thoughts?
I'll tell you 2 things that happened to me that caused my SWR to change on my antenna. The first one was the landscapers came through, and they accidentally nicked one of the elements, and that caused my antenna to now be a different length electrically, and that made me have to go in and do some changes there to adjust that. The other issue I had was my coax got chewed by a squirrel, and I actually
Oh my gosh.
chewed the outside and the inside. So they got in past the braid and was chowing down on that. So obviously, if your coax has open shorts in it, that will cause problems as well. So just a good piece of advice is do a walk through your system. Start at your radio, follow your coax all the way through. If you have something like a dummy load, or you can use a couple of voltmeters, you could potentially test it along the way and check, okay, my coax is good from my shack to my feed point. So that tells me that it's not in the coax, it's in the antenna. So start troubleshooting, and those steps can help you as well.
Yeah, that's awesome tips. Coax. Could an antenna analyzer help here, Jim? Like if he puts an antenna analyzer on the...
Yeah, if you have an antenna analyzer, some of them will look and tell you if you have a short in the line at a particular spot. So they have advanced tools to do that. That's I'm thinking about the older MFJ analyzers that used to do that. I'm sure some of the newer ones do it as well. Like I said, if you can get a dummy load is relatively inexpensive. You put it on the end of you disconnect your coax from your antenna, put the dummy load on one end and the analyzer on the other. And if you're seeing, 1.1 to 1 all the way across the bands, then the coax is in pretty good shape. Now you can start putting the analyzer on the antenna and taking a look and see if there's issues there. And we have company.
And oh my gosh, the stream has been hijacked. We've got Andy, N0APX, product manager from World Radio League.
That's me.
How is life over at World Radio League, Andy, these days?
You know what? It is absolutely intense, crazy, and otherwise busy, and that's an understatement. But we're doing fantastic.
Yeah, and back to your question into LQH here. What Jim had a really high SWR in one time, and he was troubleshooting. It was a tower, and when it came down to it, it ended up being the coax. And
right,
I climbed Jim's tower. There's a YouTube video you could actually watch on our channel. I climbed Jim's tower, and it was actually really fun. So
the where my tower was set up, there were 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces of coax before you got to the antenna. And I could go up on the tower and I could test it at the last point I could reach, but not being the youngest and most spry person that I've ever been, I couldn't quite get all the way up to the top of the tower. So James was nice enough to come over, and there you go. He climbed up and replaced the coax, the little stub that went to the very top of the antenna. And that had broken because of movement. So that antenna rotates, and it had just rotated. Or no, wait, we decided that it wasn't rotation, it was water ingress, right? Some water got into the connector and it corroded and caused a short where it didn't make contact. So another place to look when you're looking to see why your SWR is high.
Absolutely. Let's see. And this is just a tip from Hillbilly Ham. Yeah, go ahead, Andy.
Hey, Dave, K6JE, he's a local to me, but Jim told me that I couldn't come on unless I had a question. So I've got one. I don't know if you've been asked this yet or not, but I just thought I'd ask since I was coming on. Just kind of an interesting one here. What is your most memorable contact? The one that just sticks out to you, the most fun or most memorable contact you've ever made?
Well, I talked about a couple, including one that was an EchoLink contact via repeater to South Africa.
Oh,
that was cool. I'm going to go with one that was very early. I think it was my first DX contact. I was still a technician ham, although I had a HF radio, and I had made a homebrew 10-meter dipole out of some coax. And that was enough to get me a contact with somebody in, I think it was Ontario. So Atlanta to Ontario, about 1,000-mile contact. That was an opportunity for me. So that one was really memorable for me. I've had some other memorable contacts too. A lot of times they're memorable because when I would, like, for instance, I did a couple of different parks on the air things as a part of a trip. So I took in 2023, I took a road trip up to Canada, and I went to 2 of the Marconi sites, and I made contacts from there. So those are really memorable contacts for me too, because I did radio where Marconi did radio, and
really
not everybody gets an opportunity to do that. So that's a lot of fun too.
And we got a really good just tip from KE6GAE here. Make sure to bond your main ground to the ground if you drive another ground rod. I just want to comment on this one because I just went through this. I installed my first permanent antenna system. So I needed to install, usually when you install a permanent antenna, you want something to, number one, lightning protection, but number two, it dissipates all the static and charge that can build up on your antenna. And so we'll publish the video soon, but essentially you get one of these ground rods only cost $20 from Home Depot, and you can drive that into the ground, and then you bond it, which just means you need a nice thick connection. I think usually is like a copper strap or something like that between that and your main house bond, because you don't want to have 2 potential differences between your house and this antenna one. But you don't,
because then your radio becomes the pathway for the lightning.
Exactly. Yeah, which is the last thing that you want, right? So that's and it seems like people are really on to the lightning today, because Jeremy's asking, I'm in a lightning prone area. Can you recommend resources related to lightning protection for exterior antennas? Also, is there a good first antenna type to consider for a new operator?
So as far as lightning protection resources, I learned there's a couple of books you can pick up, but one of the things that I had the opportunity to do is every year at the Huntsville Hamfest. Now this just happened, so you're not going to run over and go see it. There is a gentleman who gives a very extensive discussion on lightning protection for your tower and your ham shack. Finding an expert here would really be the way to do this in a really super safe manner. So I feel like I know enough to be dangerous on this, and I would say kind of do your research, and there are definitely lightning protection experts out there who could consider this better than I can. And think about it this way: there's tons of tall buildings, skyscrapers, those kind of things that really need to have excellent lightning protection. So people have made careers out of studying this kind of thing. So you just need to find the right people to do that. So is there, sorry.
No, go ahead. I was just going to say it's its own field of study, right?
It is.
Yeah,
it is.
It's something I need to learn more about because I don't have a perfect ground system here, but I would love to get something more permanent set up.
Yeah, Andy, I was saying earlier, since I'm now in Central Florida, it's a heavy lightning area here, so I need to have.
I live like right in Tornado Alley, so lightning is definitely a concern where I'm at in the spring.
Yeah,
at least I can tell you this is if you hang tight for about another week, I will make a video that'll at least show you how to install a ground rod, which you can then bond to your main home ground. So it's a good start if you're installing an antenna system to get a dedicated ground rod. Again, these are like 23, 8-foot copper rod, $23 from Home Depot. You can get one of the hammer drills. You can rent the tool with it. It has a ground rod attachment, and you don't even really have to be that strong. It only took me just a couple minutes to drive it into the ground, which I'll show you what it looks like when you're driving it. It looks like that, right? So you're kind of pushing this
Oh, there
thing.
you go.
Nice.
That'll save your arms for sure. That's a good return on the rental investment.
Yeah, I looked at the guys. I saw the videos of the guys hammering away like crazy, and I said, I think I'm just gonna go with the tool rental.
I had a temporary 8-foot copper ground rod. I drove with a fence post driver. So if you don't know what a fence post driver is,
that's what I have too.
A very huge, heavy tool that you just literally hammer it into the ground.
Yeah, you know what is also, this is one of the cool things about hammer is you end up learning so many things about so many things that you just never even thought you would end up learning. You know, like I studied electrical engineering. They don't teach you how to drive a ground rod. You know, you take 4 years of electrical engineering school and nobody teaches you how to drive a ground rod. You know, you could solve a circuit and you can understand, transformers and you can understand exactly how an amplifier works and all these things, but you can't drive a ground rod. So practical. And sorry, Jeremy, let's get to your second part.
So a good first antenna to consider for a new operator. I'm going to take the HF side of this, and I'm going to tell you what my favorite option is. I think the easiest to get and deploy is an end-fed half-wave antenna. You only have to connect it in 2 points. It's generally fairly resonant across multiple bands. It's not terribly expensive, and that'll get you on the air for a lot of different things. It can also be easily portable. So when I go to do POTA, I generally take an end-fed half-wave with me because I like the ease of setup. Now, Andy's making a face. You look like you may have an idea, so I'm going to go ahead and let him answer.
It depends on whether you're building one or buying one. If you're building one,
that's a good point.
I would by all means go with a dipole as your first one, just a simple 20-meter dipole because they're so easy to build and they're really good.
Yep. And we have a video on that too.
Yeah, exactly. But if you're just wanting one that'll cover a bunch of bands, do everything for you, and you're just going to buy one, get an end-fed half-wave. Now, by all means, you can build an end-fed half-wave, and they're pretty simple to build if you know what you're doing, but it's a little bit more of a learning curve than a dipole. I also want to just quickly hit, he said first antenna for a new operator. I want to quickly hit the VHF side of things. You can build also a really simple quarter wave ground plane antenna with just like 5 21-inch pieces of copper wire and a connector is basically all you need. Very simple to build. That was like the first antenna I ever built, and really
Wait,
easy.
that's for VHF, UHF, Andy?
That's for VHF, yes.
Why do you need the 5 pieces of copper? Like, how does that work?
It's a quarter wave ground plane antenna, so you got your vertical and then your 4 radials.
Oh, and the 4 radials. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so it's just the one is the okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very simple build. In fact, I looked it up on YouTube. It was very early on when I was a ham radio operator, and a ham by the name of Randy, K7AGE, actually put together a video on that. I'm not sure, Jim, if you've done a video on a quarter wave ground plane yet.
I have not.
Okay. Anyway, there's videos out there on how to build a quarter wave ground plane, and they're really fun. Antennas, and they work extraordinarily well if you're trying to hit your local repeater.
And one other option I'd throw out for UHF VHF is a J-pole.
Yes,
relatively simple to use, easy to roll up and take with you to various things, and relatively effective in omnidirectional making contacts.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. And yeah, that's great. And I post the video in the chat, guys, of Jim showing you how to build the dipole. Jim, how much did that antenna cost to build?
Probably $20. I bought a roll of speaker wire and I had to buy the SO239 connector, and I 3D printed a center element and some dog bones. But if you don't want to do that, find a plastic box and screw it in and go for it. So it won't cost a lot to make something like that.
So I love this. So we got in-fed half wave, super easy, get on the air 2 points. We've got the center fed dipole for HF as well, which we dropped in the chat. And Andy for VHF, UHF suggested the quarter wave ground plane. Is that what you called that?
Yeah.
That's very cool. So you got some good options. I also for VHF, UHF, I just installed a diamond antenna. So yeah, and I think Andy and Jim are also kind of breaking it down well. Is like you've got your HF and you've got your VHF, UHF, right? So you do need to kind of make a choice there. You could buy both. You don't really have to make a choice, but they're going to be different, right? But my Diamond X30 it's just kind of like a vertical antenna. It cost me less than $100. So
yeah, absolutely.
Just
depends on your use case, whether you're trying to get on the air on HF or the local bands.
All right, James, we got about 20 minutes left. Do you want to do a speed round here?
All right, speed round, guys. We're getting to. All right. Do you need a ham radio license to transmit on a 10-meter radio?
Yes, but you can do it with just the entry-level technician license. You're limited in the frequencies you can use, but you can. All you need is a tech license.
What is POTA and what is POTA Power?
POTA is Parks on the Air. That's the abbreviation for the folks that go out and operate from the parks. POTA Power is a couple named Julie and Vaughn who are awesome, who go out a couple of times a week and do some activations in the Central Florida area. They're a lot of fun. Check out their YouTube channel, and we really appreciate them being Ham Radio Prep and World Radio League supporters. Julie passed her general recently by studying with Ham Radio Prep, so we're pretty proud of that.
Boris says, great show, useful for beginners. DL1 be okay. Thank you, Doris.
Thank you, Boris.
Where's DL1? Well, DL1 is where?
Germany, I think.
Germany.
Yeah, that makes sense. Then we've got Jake, K9DLO, HRP Tech to Extra. Awesome service. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, we've got, you talk about customer service and customer support. We have some awesome people behind the scenes that you probably won't see on the videos, but you hear their names like Ryan and Catalina, Ahmed, Tanya. They all kind of dive in there and really are all about good customer service. I definitely appreciate them.
If you ever talked to Catalina, she just got her amateur radio license in Argentina.
Yep.
Which is really, so those are the LU call signs.
Yep. And Ryan's licensed in Indonesia.
Yeah. We've got Joe in here, FT8 user. I am heard by more stations, WhisperNet at all, than I receive. I'm using an in-fed half-wave and IC7300. I also am using those many times. What could I be doing wrong or improve to get more stations on FT8?
Oh, this is an interesting question. So,
that is really strange. Yeah.
There's something to your antenna reception that I can't quite put my finger on. For instance, and so it may not be you, I guess is the best way to say it, as far as doing something wrong. Because while you may be using an end-fed half-wave, the guy on the other end may have a 4-element Yagi pointed directly at your house. So he's going to pull that signal in and do a lot of the work, even if you're not sending it. So there is that kind of combination that you need to deal with and understand. Right, Andy?
There was also another question in the chat somewhere about antenna elevation. And depending on what band you're using, that can make a huge difference. So keep that in mind as well. Make sure you've got it elevated off the ground. I think they recommend a quarter to a half wave if possible. So make sure
good point.
I just put up this 160 meter off center fed dipole, and I know my center point is too low. And that is definitely impacting
it's hard to get a 160 dipole.
Okay,
it is. I've only got it 20 feet up. I can get it higher, but maybe after the leaves fall.
Okay, sorry to break the speed around here, but I actually really want to know this because I'm now rebuilding my station, as you guys both know. So one question is, with the in-fed half wave, are you going to get a different performance if it's fully horizontal versus a slope? Because I'm already pretty high off the ground. I'm coming off the corner of my house, right? So I'm going from corner of my house up to a tree. Do I want it to be like this or like this?
It could be either. So what you're talking about here is the way the antenna lays out will impact your takeoff angle off the ground. So some of your signal is just going to go straight out the top of the wire of the antenna, but some of your signal is going to go down on the ground and then reflect out. So depending on how reflective the ground is and wavelengths and distance above ground, depending on the frequencies you're using, all those are going to have an impact on where you may be able to reach. And, this is where using a tool, I'll give a plug here, using a tool like World Radio League and continually logging your contacts there and starting to look at your patterns of contacts. So if you make 100 contacts on 20 meters, you'll start to get an idea of this is where I'm heard and this is where I'm not heard. And if it's important to be heard where you're not heard, then you want to do things like change your antenna orientation, whether it's raise it up, lower it down, takeoff angle, those kind of things. So using that as a tool can really help you kind of dial in where you want to get your signal to.
And James, I'll also say that I don't hear in-fed half waves being deployed as a horizontal very often. More often, it's a sloper or an inverted V. So the inverted V is where you raise the center point of the in-fed half wave up higher than the two end points. So,
well, you've only got one end point on a.
So do you then think that possibly the radiation pattern, if it is too horizontal, it could affect performance?
It could potentially, yes.
We'll find out. We'll find out on the next episode of Ask Professor Jim. That is that's a really good one. POTA power in the house. Sorry, we're a little bit behind, but if you're still here, good to see you. And then we've got Andy, who was just answering someone else who said, check you're on a clear frequency and no one's too close. Okay, I would like this. Would you dive into the most used acronym list for hams? Because there are a lot of them. We've got POTA, SOTA, VSWR, et cetera, et cetera. Well, what are the biggest ham acronyms?
So we do have a video and a guide on this on our Ham Radio Prep site. A lot of the questions for early hams relate to things like QSL versus QRZ and those types of Q code usage, or what 73 means. So we cover a bunch of those in that video. But POTA, we talked about parks on the air. SOTA is summits on the air. VSWR and SWR, standing wave ratio, that is the amount of signal that's reflected back into your antenna. So that is something that you want to manage. And James just posted a link in the comments to our slang and jargon video that can fill you out with a bunch of other topics as well. So you'll understand what the difference is between 72 and 73. And there is a difference.
Okay, let's see. There's just a couple comments here. I'm just trying to get through those and get to the next question. This isn't a question, but Jane's just on fire in the chat, so she gets to come up again. She loves ham radio and she's on 2Nets this week, so Jane gets a special extra comment added.
She's trying new stuff.
Any best tool? This is kind of later, but I feel like reverse beacon, which I feel like we should almost add that into World Radio League at some point, but. Who wants to cover reverse beacons real quick?
So the idea here is that there are stations that are really set up and doing nothing but listening to things like FTA or it started off, I think, as PSK reporter, and now there's all different digital mode reporters, but they basically sit and listen to hear whatever signals they can hear. They feed them back into the internet as far as the call signs they hear, and then you can see where your propagation is going via a reverse beacon tool. So there's a couple of different reverse beacon networks. I don't have a preferred one. You may want to just check around and see if you find one you like, but that's the phrase you want to search on, reverse beacon network, and you'll find a couple of different options.
Where to find good info on making a ham clock from a Raspberry Pi?
Okay, I've done this. It's a lot of fun, but I don't have the best instructions. There's a guy on YouTube that I really like, and he's a ham, and he loves Raspberry Pi and Times, and his dad is a commercial broadcast engineer. So he's got a lot of things going on. His name is Jeff Geerling, Geerling, and I'll put the link in the chat. He has got some videos that show how to make a Pi clock, and I would check him out.
That's pretty cool. And then Don just saying, working on his extra at age 72. And so Don, keep at it, KD8PX. And I know a lot of you guys haven't tried the mobile app yet, but I'll just say it again. Get on the mobile app because it's got some advanced things to really help you get through it. You've got this, Don. Let's see. And another one here, Lowell is working on it. Later upgraded general QSOs. He's got QSOs with all continents. And he is working on his looks like he's got his general. So Lowell, you got to get for that extra as well too. And if you see us at a ham fest, we'll even give you an extra pin, a student appreciation pin when you do pass it.
Yep. There is so you mentioned Antarctica. There is a ham radio station at McMurdo Station. And I know I've got a friend who's a ham who is actually down there now, and she's activated it a couple of times. They usually only get on for an hour or two, so it's very rare to get, but you can get Antarctica in the log.
Oh, cool. That is really cool. That I did not know that. Ted, when did it change that you need to have an extra class? It's just a question about what license you need for the VE testing.
So you can be a VE as a general class ham, but you will only be allowed to proctor technician level tests. In order to proctor all 3 tests, you need to be a general operator. So that's how it lays out.
Okay, that's good. So you can still do it as a general TED, but if you want to do all of them, and Robert passed his exam using ham radio prep. Thank you, Robert. Good work. And I hope you got your free gift at the end of the course. Don't forget to submit that form. WB9SLK is your call. Lowell, keep on working on that extra. Oh, Joshua, he wants the scoop here. What are there any new courses in the works? Keep up the great work.
So yes, we are doing something a little bit different. So we just announced the satellite and space operations course. So that came out, if you didn't know that. But we are between now and the end of the year, we're going to kind of work on a series of YouTube videos. So they'll all be free and they'll all be related to parks on the air. So you will see activations and recommendations for radios and antennas and those kind of things. That's our latest focus. So all 3 of us, James, Andy, and I, will be in these videos, and we'll be showing you how to log and get awards, and how to go out and set up for sideband, how to set up from your truck. There's a lot of different videos that we're currently we've just dove into, started working on in the last couple of weeks. So we're looking forward to getting these out between now and the end of the year.
And shout out for this course and the POTA for I'm finally working on setting up my antenna mount on my truck. So if anybody's been interested in setting up an antenna for ham radio on your vehicle, I've got you covered. There's going to be a great new guide coming out on that, and it's going to be a blast. Let's see. when do they plan to open more of the HF bands to technician class?
Not up to us. I know that some groups have made some proposals to the FCC. They're trying to get it in under the big FCC delete rule change methodology, but I have not heard of any impending changes to HF bands for technician class. So,
all right, I think
it's going to be one of those things. Is when it happens, it'll happen in 60 or 90 days.
All right, I'm going to try to wrap it. We're coming up on time, guys, but I think we can get to all of them. Is it okay to post content of you making contacts with people?
Yeah, I don't see why not. We generally do because we are recording ourselves. I think I'd be sensitive to the other people, but think of it this way: if somebody's broadcasting on the air or through a repeater, they're open, they're openly sharing their info. Be careful about private info and those kind of things. But in general, we've all done that. So I don't see where there'd be a problem.
Yeah, use some common sense there. And
yeah,
in my electronic experience, HRP is the best out there. Thank you. Have you said HF Shark Stick vertical antenna? Thanks.
I have not used that one. I don't know if any of the other guys have. I have not had. Oh, James has got one.
I'm about to use one.
Okay.
Nice.
I have not.
Nice.
I have not had as good experience with vertical antennas for HF as I have with horizontal. So I stick with that. But can't wait to hear how James does.
Yeah, the reason I got it, Mike, is because I wanted something that was really quick to deploy without tuning. So the ham stick, in my case, I've heard mixed reviews that when you're using these shorter verticals, there's a trade-off from having a full size or even a longer wire antenna. All right, Tech in General with help. Oh, this is just a shout out. He did Tech General and Extra with help from the course. Use the app.
I love being a VE. I can't wait to find a group that I can VE with here in Florida. So I'm looking forward to that.
We've got a shout out from Ken Tilford. Ken is actually our top user of all time, KC8ZKS, and he's of World Radio League, and he's even going to be representing us at a Hamfest in Ohio this weekend.
Cool. That's great,
awesome.
Ken.
And check out his profile. If you search on worldradialeague.com, you can see I've got 3 QSOs with him. And look at that activity map. I mean, that's just absolutely on fire. What about swag on the Ham Radio Prep shop? Love your products. Okay,
James, that's really a you question.
Yeah. Well, if you want more swag or you have some ideas, let us know. But if you do go over to shop.hamradioprep.com, we've got some swag. I'll tell you kind of what my personal favorites are I've got a license ID card. I have a band plan. I have the amateur radio license plaque. You can buy these pins. These are actually, you get these for free if you take our course and you pass it. And then I literally like the Morse code mug. Because it reminds me every day that I need to learn Morse code and catch up to Andy. My only goal in ham radio is to be better at Morse code than Andy. Just kidding, but
it's not a lofty goal, I will say.
Okay. Great to see you at Huntsville. W9EGL.
Thanks, Robert.
Thanks, Robert. Are in-fed antennas normally shorted using multimeter? Reen Manzon wants to know.
Andy might know this better than I do. Because of their balance, I'm not sure how that would show with a multimeter.
I'm not sure exactly what you mean by the question. So yeah, I mean they're I'm not sure exactly how to answer that question for sure.
Sorry, you stumped us.
I don't know what you mean by.
We got stumped. We got stumped. Okay, but good question there. We got a shout out. Craig says he did all of our lessons and he's doing local VE team testing. That's awesome to hear those stories. Yep. We'll come back to that. Serious question. I use the logging app. Is there a way of logging, say, a SAT contact or any other that uses 2 different frequencies? Andy, you want to take this one?
Yeah. We actually have a satellite logging template now. So if you go up to your templates quick setting in your World Radio League logbook, you can grab our satellite logging template, and it will allow you to log just like that. And then if you want something like if you're trying to do something like a split frequency, that's not necessarily a satellite contact, but you want to do something split, you can put together your own custom template to include, the fields that you want in there.
Yep, there you go. So you've got a lot of options there. Long time tech here. I do pretty well with the general. Tripped up. The band plan trivia is tripping him up. Any suggestions for that?
I don't know that I have a better suggestion than just memorization on that. If you're using the app and taking practice tests that way, it will tell you which are the parts where you need to study on better. So that will tell you if you're starting to get it or if you're getting there. But I know it always gets mixed up that, 17 meters is 18 megahertz and 12 meters is 24 megahertz. And so it can definitely trip you up.
Something that's kind of helpful too is if you download the World Radio League app, it has a band plan on there so you can refer to it. I still get mixed up sometimes. If it's a band that I don't use a lot.
You can't use that for the test, but
just don't try referring to the
test. Yeah.
In there to help you
All
out.
right. This is a good one. First HF radio for POTA activations, and it needs to be affordable.
Andy's going to say the G90.
I'm going to say the G90.
So not to give a brand plug, but why not? There's a group that sells radios called Radioddity, RADIODDITY, I think. And just today, I bought a G90 kit for $399 plus tax. So I'm going to try out the G90. And coming up in this POTA course that we've been talking about on YouTube, one of the videos that I'm in charge of producing is radio recommendations. So we'll see how it does, and we'll see how it plays in our recommended POTA radios.
That's
Jim,
awesome.
Jim, remind me later. I'm going to send you a link to an aftermarket knob to replace the G90 stock knob with.
Okay.
There's a really nice weighted metal knob on Amazon that replaces the G90 stock knob. That's really, really nice. So
good. Okay.
We're getting a lot of grounding and bonding stuff today, but this is an interesting one. So Les's stuff, KK7 TPM says grounding rods in New Mexico. We recently found out that everything was grounded to the wastewater outlet pipe, not a ground rod. Now I know why I couldn't locate it to bond to.
Ouch.
So this is the same thing that happened to me. My house was built in 1969.
This is common for 50s, 60s, even 70s era houses. So I had the same issue at my old house.
And so I talked to a professional electrician, and what he told me is that now new houses, that wouldn't be up to code. You have to have a ground rod, right? But very common for the older houses that they're actually using those copper pipes to be grounded. I was talking to my stepdad actually, about this grounding thing. He worked on, he was a contractor that put in water pipes for residential. And he said one time he was upgrading these water pipes, and he went in and every time him and his guys were touching these water pipes, they were getting shocked.
Oh no.
Because I guess what had happened is that because everyone was using the water pipes as part of their electrical system, somebody had somehow connected a live wire into the ground of the electric, and it was actually became live. So that's probably why they changed those electrical codes. But
it's funny. I guess they do make good grounding systems. When my dad was young, him and some friends or family or something, he put together this little. It was like a shortwave or AM receiver kit. He just, bought the parts, put it together in like a shoebox, really cool little kit. But he put the antenna out, and he was having a hard time receiving. And then he put the ground wire against their old house water pipe, and it just completely picked up signals like crazy as soon as he did it.
Oh my God.
Yep. Another group that has trouble with this are cable installers. They'll get feedback through the equipment, and they'll go out and touch the coax, and it'll give them a little tingle.
Be careful out there, guys. And unless you could install a new ground, you could talk to an electrician if you actually do want to get a ground put in. They can put a new ground into your home, and they can put that ground into your electrical box, and they'll ground everything inside your electrical box. So there is a way around that. I mean, and I guess you could continue to use the ground as it's designed too, but you do want to have a separate ground for your antenna system. I think it's Reen Menzon, or maybe it's Renee. Is my in-fed antenna too low, 17.5 feet high?
I think we covered this a little bit earlier. It is what you want it to be. So a lower antenna will have a higher, if it's below like a half wavelength, it will have a higher amount of near vertical incident sky waves. So basically the signals will bounce more up and straight back down as opposed to out. So it's not too low if you want NVIS. It might be too low if you're looking for more DX.
And it depends on the band as well. So
it depends on the band.
And Gregory confirms that he can build an excimer laser, but grounding is still a mystery. We got a Richard who loves his J-pole. So we were talking about J-poles earlier. Thank you, Richard, for tuning in. And let's see, Richard learned a lot about antennas today. That's also really cool.
Thanks.
Glad we could help. Let's see. Last questions, guys. Last questions. I'm trying to get the last ones. I have a TS430S. At times get really good receptions, other times terrible. How can I tell if it's my antenna or my transceiver?
It could be neither. It could just be band conditions. So you might want to get that World Radio League app, check the band conditions and see how it's doing. Maybe you're trying to do 80 meters and it's currently poor. James is showing it right there. So so it's not always either or.
I love that you also have the, this was actually something Andy worked on. It tells you the band conditions, but it gives you the A index, the K index, and the solar flux index. And it color codes them for somebody like me who forgets what they mean. And I'm just like, okay, this looks good.
If they're on the news talking about, hey, we're going to have a beautiful, what do you call it?
Aurora. Yeah.
Aurora Northern Lights experience. You can just turn your radio off.
Yeah. This is very true.
That's you're getting a lot of solar interference then.
All right. Dudley says, been using ham radio for extra, feeling confident. Good luck, Dudley. You've got this.
Good luck, Dudley. Let us know how you do. Then
Jane, just ending us out here by saying thank you so much. This was awesome.
Thanks, Jane.
And guys, we've answered. Jane. We got to all the questions.
Awesome.
Yay.
So
cool.
Good deal.
Thank you, everybody.
And we went more than 90 minutes, so that just means there's more demand to do this again in the future.
Absolutely.
Maybe I'd love to try and get this monthly or bi-monthly. We'll figure out the right cycle to do it, but we will definitely be doing this again.
I'm totally in. I'm just bad at planning it, but I'm in.
Yeah. Can I give a couple of quick shout outs as we drop here?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
Okay, so number one, we've got a QRM episode coming up very soon, so stay tuned for that. That will drop on the World Radio League channel.
And QRM is the podcast that Andy and I do together.
Yeah, the podcast on the World Radio League channel. Go subscribe to the World Radio League channel because we got tons of new content over there, and we're doing live streams like every week or two over there. So go over to the World Radio League channel, get subscribed, make sure you're looking out there, and then also Jim talked about the POTA videos that we're working on. Aside from that, I'm planning on making my ham radio prep YouTube channel debut here in hopefully not very long with a new video. We were just discussing today. I had just watch for the video. I had an issue with one of my radios. I'm going to be working on fixing that, and so we'll hopefully turn that into a piece of content. So
something totally different than what
you might see this face on the Ham Radio Prep YouTube channel before long.
Yeah, that's something totally different than what we've done.
I'll give you something else to look forward to. And this video I should be getting out here pretty soon. Let me see if I can pull this up here. Check out, this is my new VHF UHF home antenna. And I'll be walking you guys through my full new home station setup as well. So I'll show you guys exactly how I installed this and all the things that we went through. So that should be helpful.
Yep, and you're going to be able to follow along with my build as we go along. So I'm recording my new shack build and new antennas and all my new experience here in Florida. So if you've been thinking about things that you want to do to build a shack, or just make accommodations for different things, we'll have some videos that talk about that too.
All right, everybody. Professor, thank you so much for the time. Thanks for being my Elmer as well. It has been absolutely a journey, and we're still learning new things every day. So let's keep it
absolutely rolling. Me too.
73,
Andy,
everybody.
thanks for coming by. James, thank you. We'll see y'all soon.
Hop in. 7-3, everybody.